Matt was just kind of like, all right, well, I'm gone for the day. The rest of this is all yours. Just have some fun, whatever. And like Steve said, it was fun to just go ahead and grab a bite to eat, and then come back. And then it's like, well, all right, well, what do we do? Yeah, let's just like fuck around with some stuff.
Welcome to the Dreams of Consciousness podcast. If the two of you would be so kind, would you mind introducing yourselves?
Yeah, I'm Justin Storms from Wailin Storms. I sing and play guitar.
And I'm Mark Oates, and I play drums and percussion in Wailin Storms.
And Steve Stanczyk is joining shortly. He plays bass.
Excellent. Justin and Mark, welcome back. The two of you have been on the podcast twice before.
Yeah.
Once in 2020, shortly after the pandemic started, and once in, I believe, 2023 when your previous album was released. On those two occasions, we had a nice long chat about the way you guys write songs and the history of the band. So if anybody wants to hear a conversation about those things, they can head to those episodes. Well, one of the things that I wanted to ask you guys then and now is the way that you describe your music. I think at one point you described the sound as post-apocalyptic Southern Gothic punk, and somebody used the term if Bauhaus and Black Sabbath had a child, which I think has been getting used in a lot of the press releases for this latest album coming up. Is that still the case? Do you feel like your music that still describes your music accurately, or do you feel like your sound has evolved since then?
I think this newest record goes to places that are like way more melancholic and I don't want to say Portishead like, but that would be one example. Or Denali is like a deep cut that Mark loves, and then some DC heads know, and some post rock emo people know. I feel like it's more varied than just Black Sabbath and Bauhaus, and there are elements of Killing Joke on the new record. There are elements of Bauhaus on the new record, but I feel like there's like a little bit more of this kind of stripped down. I don't want to say Americana, but Southern Gothic, like really sad folk murder ballad kind of stuff, old regular Baptist stuff, like just really dark, depressing, forlorn, melancholic chants, blood harmonies, like all these weird kind of things that I feel like I did early on, but this is kind of in a way, we're going in like really interesting new experimental directions, but kind of harkening back on this stripped down, blood simple kind of sound. So yes, Gun Club sounds like that. Bauhaus does have those elements. Black Sabbath, even, like, yeah, you could like lump Black Sabbath in there with some of their songs, but yeah, it's just more varied on the new record. So yes, those things are true, but I feel like we're using piano, we're using organ, we're using like classical guitar, we're like kind of getting into that more complex, varied musical composition, more varied songs with this record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Um,
I agree. And it's and same thing with like on the percussion standpoint too. It's like I think I used a little bit more brushes and stuff that kind of subdued more, a couple of songs kind of just like really kind of touch on like what Justin was saying. So it kind of like really mellows it out, just makes it more warm. And, but like, it's kind of like has that warm feeling, but angst at the same time. Yeah.
So we were just joined by Steve and Ben. Steve and Ben, can you introduce yourselves for the podcast audience and maybe, if you'd like, add to the description of the band sound?
Yeah, the first question is easier than the second one. I'm Steve Stanczyk. I'm a bass player for Wailin Storms. I've been in the band since I think like 2014, like
Yep.
somewhere around there.
oh,
So quite a while. Yeah, the sound is it's very challenging, and I think that's been kind of an interesting thing with the press we've been getting lately is to see how people describe us because like when someone asks you, hey, I heard you play in a band, what do you sound like? It's always such a loaded question because it's so dependent on what references do they have. But I usually tell people it's heavy, we sing, we don't scream. It's if they are into like just heavy music in general, like depending on what level, like I don't know, like but we always it was like Sam Hain, I think has there's elements of that, like the bluesy singing of that band, I think are close, but then there's like especially on this album, there's like almost like Western elements to it. I think someone earlier today, like on a listening, said like they could get that Western vibe out of it, and I would agree with that.
especially on this record.
Yeah, yeah. Ben,
Yeah, hi. So I'm Ben Melton. I play guitar and do backup vocals. I'm the newest member of the band. I joined, I guess, 3 years ago, just a little over 3 years ago. So this will be the first record I did with them. What was the second part of your question exactly?
oh, I was just curious if you have a way to describe their music
Oh, yeah. I mean,
as somebody who came to the band fairly recently.
yeah, I honestly, nothing that they haven't already said, because kind of like Steve was alluding to, I am also one who struggles to explain our sound to people because it varies so much depending on who I'm talking to. Because if you're into like niche, heavy, weird, dark stuff, then I can get really specific with like specific references. But if I'm just talking to the average person, like people at work, if they have no idea who the hell Sam Hain is, or even like Neurosis, or like
Right.
any of these other bands that we get compared to a lot. So I just tell people it's like heavy, dark, and but also like twangy, and kind of try and leave it there because I could just go off on adjectives for half an hour and make people's eyes glass over. Just usually what happens.
It's funny, like on this record, I've also heard like some elements of like kind of like Alice in Chains kind of vibe.
Interesting.
I've heard more on this record than any of the other previous records that we've done. And then I've gone back and like listened to some of like, say, like Alice in Chains is like either the Unplugged or like Sap or Jar of Flies, like stuff like that. And I'm like, oh shit, there might be a little bit of, reminiscent of some of that. And I was like, okay, I get it.
I was gonna say Creed, but
Foo Fighters, but not.
Nickelback for the Canadian fans.
Yeah, Nickelback for the hosers, Yeah.
Mark, do you feel like that's as Ben was saying, kind of a function of, if you've only heard Metallica, then you'd compare this to Metallica, but if you're, more into like death rock and post-punk and stuff like that, then you'd say, Nick Cave or Sam Hain or something like that. Do you feel like that's the Alice in Chains references are more about the person than maybe about your music?
Yeah, I think it's like familiarity, It's like the average listener of like, say, like the 90s rock and stuff are going to be able to say, oh, I know Alice in Chains, but I'm not 100% familiar with like the Sam Hain and like stuff like that. So I think that's like an easy way out, to be like, oh yeah, Alice in Chains, I get it.
Yeah, you got to have your elevator pitch for the normies as well as for.
I mean, in fairness, I think we're all around the same age where, we're Gen Xers who came of age when that stuff was really popular. And so we did grow up listening to, or at least hearing a lot of that stuff on the radio, right?
Oh yeah, 100%.
For sure. Yeah, and Danzig is another thing. Like if people don't know Sam Hain, you could say Danzig pretty easily, and that would be like, oh, okay, I know Mother, maybe Twisted Cane, from Danzig.
Yeah, Misfits stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and Misfits too. I mean, that's kind of like a household punk rock household name.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're different than the Misfits, unfortunately, or fortunately, or however you want to. But
I'll go on the record and say it's fortunate.
Okay, yeah, or the
I'm
Wipers.
glad we don't sound exactly like the Misfits. That would be a bummer.
Yeah, I mean, Earth AD is amazing. I do kind of wish we'd make an Earth AD record.
Yeah.
Type record. That'd be sick. Selfishly. I know you.
So as a corollary to how you describe your music, I asked a band recently who their audience is or who they imagine their audience is. You guys do a lot of touring. When you play live, is it to a lot of people who, as Ben was saying, people who are into like Samhain and Neurosis and stuff like that?
That's a good question. It's so varied.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because from my experience, it really depends on who we get paired with. Because like sometimes we wind up playing with a lot of like doom and stoner bands. And so those are like fans of Sleep and fans of, Earth and all, I guess they're not really metal, but like all those bands in that category. So they like the heavier stuff, and you see a lot of more like illegible font metal shirts in those shows. But
I have a bunch of those.
We also wind up playing with like a lot of really different, just like kind of more slow, pensive songwriter driven, almost like I want to maybe like hot water music or something kind of influence stuff.
Interesting. Okay.
Just a lot more like an older crowd, like you mentioned, like the Gen Xer crowd. And so it really just depends. We kind of see a variety of audiences from one night to the other. Wouldn't you guys say that's accurate?
For sure.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's one of the benefits of, like the bad part about the sound is that it's hard to explain to someone. The good part of it is that we can really play with almost any band and it somewhat makes sense. There's just that diversity and range. I would say our audience is comprised of people who are really into like DIY music just in general. Like, I remember one show where I like saw someone with like kind of a mainstream band. I'm like, okay, that's different, on their shirt. Just like for the most part, it's people who support local and underground music. I think that would be a broad genre of folks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because we're definitely playing smaller clubs and punk rock shows, not literal punk rock, anarcho punk rock shows, but we definitely play with punk bands, heavier bands, sludge, metal, experimental, post rock, post punk, goth bands. Yeah, a wide array. So
yeah, I hate to say it, but we're kind of like correct me if I'm wrong, like a band's band. Like,
yeah, musicians come out.
Yeah, like a lot of people that are in bands and that really love music or like play as well.
Yeah,
they're a lot of our audience, like a lot of fans and stuff.
Yeah,
I don't think that's a bad. I mean, I think that's like you are winning over cynical people that have seen everything.
Yeah.
I always say like when a bartender or like the door person likes us, that's like an extra feather in your cap because those dudes and people, those folks, they've seen and heard everything and they're just so burned out on music just in general.
Yeah.
So if like one of them comes up to you and they're like, that was really great, like, and is complimentary, like I take that as extra.
That's an ultimate compliment. I agree. Yeah.
Totally. And sound guys tend to like us for sound people because it could be a sound person, sound woman, sound guy. They tend to like, we've gotten quite a few like, hey, I really liked y'all. And I was like, whoa, a sound person likes us?
We got that, like especially in Chicago we were playing with like This Will Destroy You. Like I had like the door person who seemed pretty jaded and she was like, holy shit, you guys were awesome.
That's great.
And same thing with the sound people that were there. They were just like, dude, you all were awesome. So that to me, adding on to Steve's, that's an ultimate compliment.
Yeah. Impressing venue people is always like, oh, wow, you see shows every night. You should not care about this. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Or care about it, but, like it takes a lot for you to give a shit about, a band.
100%.
Go
spoke to a band recently who they described their music as, or their audience, I guess, as like the nerdy person who hangs out at a record store. I don't know if record stores still exist, but you know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
You know, like the person who just like loves to like, you know, just talk about music with other people. Do you feel like there's an element of that to your audience as well? Like, you know, when you say like Sam Hain and Nick Cave and stuff like that, like I feel like music nerds like us, I think, would like hear like all of this stuff and be like, oh wow, this is, you know, this is expansive. This touches on a lot of stuff.
Yeah, yeah. And my partner works at a record store, so like, yeah, they fortunately they still exist here. I don't know for how long, but hopefully for a long time.
I think they will.
Yeah, I do too. And Mark works with records and distribution of records. I don't want to speak for you, Mark, but I think that right.
Yep. Yep. It's on the bingo card.
And I collect records and stuff, so yeah. Ben has some records. Steve definitely has some cool punk rock 7-inches on his wall.
I think I own about 2 records. And I think at least one of them is a copy of our new album.
Oh, Wailin Storms.
I mean, we'll get to this at the end, but I think there should be more than a few copies of the new album, right? There should be at least like three different versions.
Oh yeah, yeah. And we have a special artist version that's like this splatter. What was the term, Mark? Like, what's the
Crusher vinyl?
Crusher vinyl. Yeah, so it's like black, red, maybe some white.
Pink. It's a clear, pink, and black.
Okay.
And instead of like a splatter, it's more of like I don't know if you're like familiar with like the manufacturing side of things, but like when they make like colored vinyl and stuff, everything's all made out of pellets. So it's like different color pellets that gets compressed.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So when they do like a splatter color, it's like spun at a high rate that kind of spins out the colors to make it like that splatter color. This is just kind of like a straight up compacted, like where it looks kind of like splotchy.
Okay.
So it has like that crushed look to it, like the pellets being crushed.
So take acid and look at the vinyl.
Oh man, I will nerd out on that all day. So I'm just gonna stop there.
Yeah, that was way more detail than I could have ever provided, Mark. Thank you. Like, seriously, I didn't know all that stuff.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah.
So Justin, Mark, and Steve have been on the podcast before. Ben, this is the first time I'm speaking with you. Can you tell me a little bit about your background and how you met the guys?
Yeah. So I grew up playing bass, and I started off playing in like different punk rock bands in high school. I'm a little bit younger, so I had my roots in like pop punk when I was like a wee teen, and then started transitioning to heavier stuff as I got older. Towards the end of high school, I was listening to like exclusively black metal and
Nice.
like things like Immortal, Dissection, and Emperor. Those are like the 3 biggest bands in the world.
Hell yeah.
And then I got through college and was listening. That was when like bands like Kylesa and Baroness and Mastodon were kind of having their heyday. So I got really into that like progressive sludge scene and played bass in a band that was kind of like that. And then I sort of took a break from heavy for a while and was doing more like acoustic folky kind of stuff. Got back into it when I actually switched over to guitar, and I've been kind of playing and did my own album for a couple years. And then I met these guys through my fiance, who is old friends with them, and found out they were looking for a guitarist. So I was like, pick me, and auditioned, and the rest is history.
My wife.
Thank you. Yes.
My future wife.
Uh-huh.
Ben, in addition to guitar, you also play organ and piano on the record, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I played piano since I was that was actually the first instrument I ever learned. So it's kind of always been there.
He's like a
Did you study music or anything like that?
Yeah, I did. I did. I actually, yeah, I studied bass performance in college for my undergrad.
Okay.
Yeah, Ben's an actual musician. I'm a punk rock self-taught musician. Mark, I think, is a real musician. Steve is
No.
No, I had two bass lessons, in my entirety of my life, and I learned how to play the Trooper by Iron Maiden and Run to the Hills, I think.
Nice.
Run to the hill.
Yeah.
Whoa.
That's pretty good foundation.
Oh,
And I've never taken a lesson in my life.
yeah, me either. I mean, I grew up in the church, so my parents are musicians and pianists and stuff, but that's just me being around it.
Yeah. My dad played in like a 60s surf rock band when he was young, and my uncle played in like a late 60s, early 70s psych rock band out of North Carolina as well. But like they were both guitarists. Like nobody played drums in my family.
But Ben's an actual musician who can actually play piano and organ, and yeah, like dude has skills.
Yep.
So just throwing that out there.
Well, thanks, guys.
Ben, when you
He's taken.
in addition to performance, did you also have to study like music theory and composition and stuff like that?
Oh, in college, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. But I don't want to frame it like I'm this like well-trained classical musician because the truth is I was playing in bands in college and kind of just was more interested in doing that, and I sort of just like did the bare minimum to not fail in all my classes. I was a classic example of someone that was too young to be in college, just to like appreciate the commitment that it was. So I mean, I did study like, we had oral skills training and we did do theory and stuff like that, but I was kind of just more interested in playing in my bands and writing and just getting better at creating new songs, not really, getting too well versed on conventional structures to how you make music.
Okay. Justin, Mark, and Steve, I think the last time we spoke, a lot of your arranging was done in the rehearsal space as a group. Is that correct?
I kind of tend to write the general structure
Okay, I see.
of songs, and then then we don't arrange in the practice space, but we kind of flesh out just all the nuances to the songs, and everybody adds their like special flavor to it. So I guess the structure is usually there.
Yeah.
Usually, the general structure, but yeah, we definitely mess with bridges and yeah, like how many times we play a verse or something like that.
They usually come in with like the melody and like the vocals and like a raw guitar track or riffs that go with it, and then we kind of manipulate that
Yeah.
to what it ends up being.
Oh, show.
Yeah.
Yeah, some songs get butchered in the practice space more than others. That's in relation to what Justin had in mind when he brought it. It kind of just depends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they all kind of have like really special magical qualities that like the band just brings so much kind of special qualities to the music that it's fine, raw and simple, but yeah, the guys just add something really neat to all the parts. I don't know how to verbalize it. Sorry, my mind is blinking there.
Do you guys do any file trading back and forth? Like sending riffs back and forth or drum patterns or anything like that?
I think Ben and I do that sometimes. Sometimes I'll send like a draft to everybody just to be like, hey, here's an idea for the song with lyrics and melody and stuff. Yeah.
You've done that with me too, just like kind of sent me like just the structure of it, and I've kind of workshopped around it too.
Yeah, we're all very fortunate in that we live in the same town, so we don't really have to do that much, as opposed to so many other bands, especially bands that have been around for like 30 years, where everyone's all relocated to separate lives. we have the luxury of meeting on a near weekly basis to get together and write. So, usually whenever someone sends something, it's like, oh, I wrote this riff. It's so sick. I got to show them immediately, and then we'll maybe look at it at practice. But for the most part, everything gets written, in person. At least for this record. I don't know what y'all did for the four albums before me, but
I think that's pretty accurate. Yeah, like typically here's the root and then everybody kind of messes with it
Okay.
in person. Yeah.
Do you guys do any pre-production demos before you go into the studio to record the album?
I mean, we
We kind of did do that. Yeah.
yeah, we did it this time. It's not some, well, I shouldn't say that. I guess we would do like home recordings before, but we we're very like have a set way of going into the studio. Like everything's prepared. We don't write in the studio for the most part. I would say this time we added a few elements that hadn't been obviously part of our practice, but in general, we go in there on a mission to like get work done and not waste time. So in an ideal world, I think if we had bigger budgets, we probably would mess around a little bit more, but so far it's been pretty structured.
100%.
So at the time of our conversation, you'll be releasing your, I believe, fifth album, The Arsonist, through a new label, Season of Mist. Tell me about your intentions for this album.
Intentions, huh?
Well, let me start with the tagline.
Okay.
So I'm seeing here every time a billionaire burns, an angel gets its wings. Is that correct?
Yeah, that was more just like tongue in cheek about capitalism, and that doesn't really have to do with necessarily the record. So that's just more of a political statement of where we're at and who controls or who thinks they're in control and fascism and yeah. So it's more
What do you have against billionaires, Justin? They just want, they're just well-meaning, benevolent people who want a little bit of all of our data
uh,
and our fingerprints
uh,
and our facial scans
uh,
and our blood
uh,
so they can build a techno-feudalist society where we're all
yeah.
serfs and we're replaced by AI. What's so wrong about that?
You summed it up. Yeah, I'd
What's
prefer
wrong with
not.
trillionaires?
Yeah, I'd prefer not being, I don't know, starved and not having a job and just, yeah, being exploited or not being exploited and just saying like, fuck you, we're gonna have somebody else let AI do your job, not have healthcare. Anyways, like on and on and on. It's already grim, so to think that it could get grimmer with the introduction of AI, with the introduction of like warehouses that are going to steal resources and use water and taint local poor communities with like shitty runoff, or it's just, yeah, it's all the nastiest, most fucked up vile shit. And it's real life. It's not just like, oh, we're being paranoid and dystopian in our thinking. No, it's this is what's happening in real time. And luckily, like poor communities and ranchers and farmers are trying to say, no, I'm not going to accept your AI warehouse. Like we're not going to sell our land to you. We're not going to sell out to our community. We're not going to sell out to the environment, whatever. So I think people are starting to kind of like say, oh, this is fucked up. And even our local government in Durham are like, yeah, allowing real estate to boom and push out poor people. And there's an element of tech taking over here. So it's just, I don't know. To me, tech is, yes, you need some of that, but AI feels a little bit, yeah, dystopian to me. Like, I don't know, Steve, you can speak more to it because I know you have to use it in your world a
Yeah.
bit.
I mean, I think you put out like there are a lot of valid concerns that most normal practical people have, and I think at the end of the day, and this is probably true for any time in humanity, like just that people don't want to be exploited. And I think the especially in the United, well, for what we're experiencing in the United States is another level that we hadn't had before. Our parents didn't have, the people before us didn't have. So it feels like it's coming to a head. Whether or not that's true, we'll find out. But yeah, there's a level of oppression that I think we didn't think would happen in our lifetimes.
So is the album a concept album or is oligarchs and technology just one of the themes that you sing about?
That's definitely an element of reality that we live in that I can't avoid that does influence things. But, it's about death and love and, you know, life stuff, personal life stuff. So, yes, there is a political tinge to some of the songs and genocide, not being cool with that, not being cool with what's going on. Yeah. So there are political songs, which is kind of a new, not new, but definitely we were more blatant with a song that is blatantly political, still cryptic, but definitely obviously political. Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, it's not a concept album per se, but there are themes within each song that allude to fire, allude to destruction, rebirth, trying to tear down these fucked up societal patterns that we're seeing, destroy systems that are oppressing people. also there's metaphors to love and the fire of love, the burning ring of fire, as Johnny Cash put it. So yeah, there's fire seems to be kind of the symbol of the record. So yes and no. I wouldn't say it's a concept album, but I would say there are some themes that reoccur in the record. Yeah.
We spoke about how your sound has evolved since the last album. Was this conscious? Were there things that you wanted to try on this album that you hadn't done in the past? Or was it just something that evolved naturally as you guys were playing together?
Yeah, I think it's an addition to Ben joining and like, hey, here's a piano. It was literally that spontaneous when we went to the studio, but we did think about let's pull back in parts and be more stripped down. And yeah, I mean, that happens, right? Like, use a different color of paint and it's going to influence how the painting is, or use a different type of film and your photos all of a sudden become more vivid or more gritty and grainy, or you experiment and you have a new member. Like in our case, we have a new member in the band. So like, of course, that's going to influence the output and like how songs get recorded, or I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think like with having a like Ben like a newest like the newest member of the band, I think I'd like to have him speak about this, but like I feel like having him has kind of put a whole new different perspective of the band and everything like that, and I'm sure he can elaborate on that.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, obviously, I had no other albums to compare to because it's the first music I've ever written with them. But I think, as far as like intentions when writing and stuff like that, I was pretty. I'm the only one in the band who has any like outside perspective on the previous music, and that's an interesting place to be in because I had no attachment to any of the songs. I mean, I do now because we've played them so much, and I feel like they're a part of me now. But coming into the project, I was the only one with any real objectivity to it. And so I feel like I knew the way I felt about the band's sound and what the previous records sounded like to me as someone who had no investment in having written it. And that motivated me to try and push the other three guys to like, all right, so we have a pretty cool sound going up until this point. How different can we make this record from that? Because every album has its own distinct vibe, but I know that every step of the way, whenever we were faced with the decision about how a song was going to go, what we needed to do at a certain part, and I think Justin had this same idea too. I remember many times him saying like, all right, well, have we already done that before? Like what haven't we done yet? That was a question that was coming up a lot, is what haven't we done yet? So it was very much an effort to just step out of the box and try not to make an album that was already there. Try not to redo any of the old albums. So that's a very easy trap to fall into. So, and I think we did that,
So
I feel good about it.
yeah, nailed it. And yeah, I've fallen into tropes per se with songwriting, but again, the band brings their own flair to it that it makes it mutated and monstrous and a hybridization of what I envision, which is cool because, you guys are adding your own flair to it, and then it makes it kind of this amalgam of things.
So I think Justin and Mark, you guys alluded to this, but when you brought Ben aboard, it wasn't necessarily because he could also play piano, right? It was just something that you guys started experimenting with once he had become a member.
Oh yeah.
Am I understanding that correctly?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we never talked about that at all until we were in the I had thought about it. Like we had every once in a while said like, what if we did an all organ song, or something like that? But we didn't have that equipment, so we kind of just put it aside. And it wasn't until we got to the studio and saw all this cool shit to play with. They're like, all right, let's see if we can whip this up into a piano track real quick. and just give me like 30 minutes. And that was kind of how it happened.
Yep.
It was also just happenstance that the studio had an apartment above it. And so that's where we were staying. So we would go out and grab some food after recording all day and then come back. And then really the studio was ours to mess around with. So that gave us an opportunity to try some things without the pressure of being on the clock or having to get other work done. So that was really cool. That actually what spawned our 4th of July cover was that opportunity, and Mark being persistent about learning the drum part. If he practiced his drums that hard on the rest of the album,
Dude, the record would be immaculate. It would
would be
like there'd be no flubs on it at all, and I'm just kidding.
He was like, we were open to it, but Mark really wanted to do it, so he was turning up the dial on the pressure.
But point is, we had free roam to play around with stuff whenever we weren't like Steve said, under pressure recording. So that kind of helped us relax and come up with ideas and like kind of prepare for the next day's session a little bit.
Yeah.
It was fun to have that ability to, whereas like Matt was just kind of like, all right, well, I'm gone for the day. The rest of this is all yours. Just have some fun, whatever. And like Steve said, it was fun to, just go ahead and grab a bite to eat and then come back. And then it's like, well, all right, well, what do we do? Let's just like fuck around with some stuff. We'll just like rehearse some of the stuff we've done, come up with other ideas, like whether it be the Rhodes or the piano, or like Steve said, work on the, for me, work on the 4th of July cover. So,
Yeah.
Home, soul.
you tell me a little bit about working with Matt Talbot?
Amazing. Hilarious. He's like the most wry, hilarious, just would like compliment you, but kind of joke with the compliment when you did a take, and just it was so fun to work with him. But you guys talk about the technical aspect because
Yeah, I mean, he was such a pro. Just
Oh, God, yeah.
he knows his gear so intimately, and was just incredibly talented at working around something as finicky as tape, where you have to punch, like anytime you had to punch a part in, he had to like do this ninja move where he would like let it play, and you have to like super hyper speed touch the play and record button at the exact moment to get it dialed in, and like you could tell he's done it millions of times, and he just has a very like intuitive sense of like when something needs to be redone if the performance wasn't quite right, like and without any prior discussion with us about what we were looking for, he could just kind of know if a take was right or if it wasn't, and that was really cool.
Yeah.
So we spoke about being Gen Xers. I remember hearing hum on the radio growing up. Was Matt's background and the music that he's created in the past part of the appeal, or was it his other work as an engineer?
I think engineer work. I mean, I love hum, and Mark loves hum, and Steve loves hum. Ben didn't know hum. I gravitated towards him because of his work versus, oh, he's, the singer and guitarist of hum personally. But
Yeah, and for me, it was interesting. It was interesting to record in analog. I was very surprised when we got there because we had like Six City technically was recorded on a reel to reel,
Yeah.
but then the tracks got bounced into Pro Tools immediately and then edited from there. So I assumed that's how we were going to record this album too. And when we got there, he literally doesn't have a computer in that control room. So I was like, "Where's the monitor? Where's the keyboard?" He's like, "Oh no, it is truly all analog." So just from a gear nerd perspective, that was really interesting to just see all this, vintage gear probably now just working so well and just capturing just all the little nuance of a live performance and hearing those little elements.
Like, I think Matt really prides himself on that too, like being like an analog recording studio, everything to tape, 2-inch tape, reel, and capturing live moments. And for me, knowing bands like Young Widows and Sweet Cobra and bands like that have recorded with Matt Talbot before, that was more like, that was also enticing for me. Like, those are bands that I respect and love their sound, and hearing what Matt did for our record was just like the beyond words. Like, it turned out so good.
What was the appeal of recording to analog or recording purely analog?
For me, it was like capturing real life moments. Like, it's like whatever we laid down at the time, like it's like taking a picture, right? When you take a picture, you can't edit it. And like, for real time, it's like, this is what we are producing, and this is like a real-time capture of like what we just did, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it does. It's about like every band wants, if they're a good live band, wants to capture that sound, and I think analog does a great job of doing that.
Yeah.
People always speak like audiophiles about the warmth that tape brings to things, and like my ears aren't that good, like just to notice those nuances with the speakers and the equipment I have. But I know that's a pretty common opinion on that. I think the people whose ears I do trust, because we had 3 different people mix something off of the session that we recorded, and all three were like, man, the drums sound so beautiful. Like the recorded, like I barely have to do anything. It just already sounds good. And I think that's probably the biggest compliment to Matt, because those are three established, sound engineers that are all saying this is great. This is fantastic.
And a compliment to me for my tuning.
I think you've said in the past that you prefer to track together, right?
Live? Like a
Live, yeah.
Yes.
As much as we can, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's a live, always live. Drum based is the first path. Like, hey, the drum has to be the foundation, and then we have scratch tracks. But sometimes Steve used a lot of your bass track, I think, on this.
Yeah, I think I would say probably, if I had to like just guess, probably about 60% or so, maybe 60 or so percent of the tracks were recorded live on this album, which, considering there's 24 tracks, that's a pretty good percentage. Yeah, obviously if you screw up or something like that, you have to go back. I think in the analog thing, there's less ability to punch in really tightly, like Ben had mentioned. It's a very manual punch-in process.
Yeah.
So a lot of times if you screw up, you have to redo the entire song. You can't, like, it just doesn't make, you'll hear that punch-in otherwise. So it's a little more rigorous and a little more intimidating as a musician. But once you get used to it, you're like, okay, yeah, this is fun. I'm so comfortable with these songs, I can kick it out again.
Yeah, and the amount of tracks limited us to how many overdubs, or not overdubs, but I can't throw in four more guitars. It has to be like one guitar. So this is not like Nirvana Nevermind Butch Vig situation. It's like, or you can bounce tracks and do that magic.
Yeah.
But we kind of had to like simplify what we've done in the past, where we maybe double up a guitar here, and we had to be selective, like, okay, we have enough room for maybe one more, two more additional tracks. Like, do we want to do vocals here and do this? Yeah, we just had to kind of think more strategically, which usually isn't the case when recording. So
Is Matt kind of like a Steve Albini kind of producer? Like, is he very minimalist?
yes, he comes from that school. He literally is like, I'm an Albini. That's like his
Protege.
reference protege. Yep.
Okay. Justin, do you double track your vocals?
Rarely.
Okay.
Yeah, sometimes it calls for it, like a chorus, maybe double up. I've done it on certain records, but I don't like to. It kind of adds this weird chorus effect that I'm not a fan of. Sometimes it works. Again, courses.
Yeah, I can't think of any songs where you did it on this record.
No, on this record.
I was gonna.
Yeah, sorry, that's
When
my.
we demoed them, I remember the engineer we worked with had you double them up.
Mhm.
You weren't happy about it, but you did it. But then you,
That's Al.
yeah.
He's a metalcore, that's his shtick. So,
Interesting. Yeah.
yeah.
I've been asking a lot of bands if they double track the vocals. It does seem like not that many bands do it, and when they do it, it's the engineer's idea or the mixing engineer's idea.
It can work. I mean, Nirvana's Nevermind sounds good because of that, not to keep referencing that. Certain records, it works, depending on the engineer's capability and how they pan things and blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
I think, like, because of way Justin and Ben's vocal harmonies work so well together, like, I think that's one thing that we've kind of highlighted on this record, that I don't think Justin really needed to do overdubs or like additional vocals on it, because I think Ben was able to really match that and create really great harmonies on it. So it was like, okay, this is Ben's take, this is Justin's take. It's not like, hey, we need to throw in another octave higher or lower
Right. Yeah.
vocal of the same person on this take.
Right.
Both Ben and Justin could take care of that.
Yeah. No, he definitely filled that gap.
Mhm.
And I threw in some like colors and layers here and there in certain parts, but yeah, for the most part, Ben, he filled that, gap vocal gap.
So as Steve mentioned, you had other engineers work on the mix and the master. Do you want to say who handled those parts of the production?
Yeah, we did a kind of a group effort on this. So the 4th of July cover was Ben's best friend Paul. He's a local engineer here in Chapel Hill, and I can't remember Paul's last name, Ben.
Well, he doesn't have one. Don't worry. Yeah, it's Blackwell, Paul Blackwell.
That's right. Yeah. And then the majority of the record of the Arsonist was mixed by Mike Lust. He's out of Chicago. He's worked on Fax on a lot of big Chicago bands, which is why we were interested in working with him.
Lifetime.
And then we also worked with Dave Downham, who worked on our Silver Snake record and Rattle record as well, and he did a couple songs for us.
And Dave mastered the album, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he also mastered it.
Yeah. In their roles as mixing engineers and doing the mastering, what did you want Paul, Mike, and Dave to bring to the finished sound of the album? What did you want the completed album to be?
Yeah, I mean, when we usually approach an engineer, we tell them, kind of give them a roadmap to like just our sound and what we're looking for. Again, I think we've learned over the years, this being the 5th album, that we're not interested in overly produced or like polished, like where people are mapping out every drum beat. That's just not us. We prefer a live sound. We want the ebb and flow of, tempos swaying a little bit. We want to leave in some of the human characteristics of a string clicking or, a little bit of echo or something in the background, just leave those elements in. So there's that aspect of it where we try to educate the person on that kind of what kind of sound we want out of it. But we do a lot of homework ahead of time just to listen to what they've done in the past and see if we think it's going to be a good fit. Mike had worked on some interesting albums, so we felt like he might be a good person to work with. Dave, we've worked with in the past. We know what he can do. And then Paul was just, was able to record the rest of the 4th of July cover and mix it. So it was just like convenience and also just us getting to know him and work with him as well. And Mark, I don't know if you want to say anything more about Mike specifically since he did the bulk of the work.
Yeah, Mike is a friend of mine. I've known him for like years, so I've known like all the stuff that he's done in the past. From the bands that he's been in to bands that he's recorded. Bands that he's recorded from like Tucolvi, which is like another Chicago band. Like I loved like their raw sound and like how just real their recordings were. Like he was in Luster King, which was like a great Chicago band. Same thing with like Type Phantoms. It's like I just really respected his work. One of his latest things he did with like mixing, he had mixed a band that just had signed with Matador, a band called Lifeguard. They're like kids. They're like literally 15, 16-year-olds, and like they're fathers have were in bands that were like in the Chicago scene as well. But like it's like he engineered that record and did it at like Electrical Audio, and it was like with kids, and that record sounded fucking fantastic. So that was kind of like the next step to kind of like, okay, yeah, I think if he could do that with kids, he can really work with us.
Justin, Ben, do you want to add anything about the finished production or working with Dave and Mike?
I think they all kind of nailed it. I mean, yeah, it was cool watching the way somebody takes your note and the way they interpret it and bring it to life. It's always kind of a fun, like kids on Christmas morning thing when you get a round of mixes back. So you really don't know what to expect, especially because we had access to the rough mixes, like when it was just fresh off the board. And so you kind of get used to the way that sounds, and all of a sudden you hear it with like actual producer's sheen over it, and things don't sound the way you expect, and you're like, oh wow, is this good, or am I just, or is it not? But then you kind of realize, oh, you were just used to it in one way. Then the way things grow on you over time. It was a cool process.
So by the time people hear this episode, the album will be out, and I believe you guys will be starting a tour. Do you want to say anything about that tour?
Woohoo!
Okay.
No,
Was that it?
I'm gonna go on record and say, hell yeah.
hell yeah. It's gonna be great.
It's happening.
No, it's going to be good. We're going out to some cities that we've hit a few times now, like Pittsburgh, Johnson City. We've been to Columbus, but this will be a new venue. Cincinnati, we haven't been there for a minute, and this is a really good venue at Motor Pub. Brooklyn's going to be great. And we haven't played John and Peter's in New Hope.
That's going to be fun.
It'll be cool.
That's like my old stomping ground.
Yeah, so it's going to be a good tour. And then we have another one planned in November. Some other tours planned next year. So there's some things in the works. But yeah, the record release tour is going to be epic. We're going to play 4 songs from the new record. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you're right.
Yeah, 4, maybe 5.
So I don't know if this episode's going to get out in time for this, but I believe you're doing a release show with friends of the podcast, the band Make, on the 17th, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Those dudes rule.
Yeah, they're
Tell Scott and Spencer I said hello.
Totally will.
yeah, I just saw the record release show at Cat's Cradle recently.
Yeah. And Snide is really awesome too. Definitely love to have people check them out too. They just absolutely rule.
So by the time people hear this episode, the Arsonist will be out through Season of Mist. Gentlemen, please tell the listeners how they can order the new album. What's the best way to get it?
I can dig this one. So best way to get it is going to our website. With Square Store, you can order directly from us, especially if you're in the US. That's a really easy way. If you're anywhere else, going to Season of Mist is probably your best bet. They ship all over the world. But yeah, the album, and then of course on all digital streaming platforms, it'll be available as well. So lots of different ways to get it. Yeah. So website is wailinstorms.com.
And also, if you want to go support your local record store, you can request them to order it, and they will be able to do that.
So Mark, you spoke about the vinyl a little bit. I believe there are 3 different versions coming out. I think Season of Mist produced 3. Is that correct?
That is correct.
We spoke a little bit about the Crusher effect. Is there anything you want to say? Anything else you want to say about the vinyl?
I mean, the 3 different variants is your standard black. Then they have like an indie exclusive, which is usually sent to like independent record stores and like across the US and overseas. And then the ones that you can get from us, like on tour or through our Bandcamp after the release date, those will be our artist variants, which is different color than the other indie exclusive.
Mark, don't forget to tell them about the 4th variant that's actually on fire.
That's the indie exclusive. It's the fire variant.
And so you mentioned your website. Is that the best place to go if you want updates and info on live events?
Probably social media is the most up to date. The website will sometimes lags a few days, so I would say follow us on Instagram is probably where things get posted the quickest.
Guys, it's always good catching up with you. I always appreciate when you take time to speak with me, and I'm glad we were able to do this for a third time. And Mark, I'm glad that unfortunately we weren't able to get it on the record, but I'm glad we were able to get I was able to get an update on the Sexy Sax Man saga.
Yeah. Yeah, he just we texted probably about like 8 or so months ago and just checking in with him. And he's like, things are going well.
Excellent. He popped up in a TV show that I was watching, and it was like a tribute to the Lost Boys.
Tina Turner.
It was called Reservation Dogs, and there's this you hear the sax playing, and then there's a big like pan reveal, and it's actually him on the beach playing the sax.
Whoa.
And I don't know how many people who's not our age will like understand the significance of it, but I damn near jumped out of my chair when I saw it.
Yes.
So that was rad.
Sexy sax man.
Sexy Sax Man.
Mr. Tim.
So we don't have much time left, but I just wanted to ask you guys if there's anything you want the listeners to know about the album or anything else.
Oh gosh.
It's awesome. Buy it.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah, we just have more tour plans next year, and we hope to be in Europe, and we're gonna make a Canadian debut next summer. Can't really say much more about that, but that is kind of different and new and exciting.
Very cool.
Yeah, new markets.
Excellent.
Push.
Thanks so much, guys. It was good catching up with you.
Likewise.
Likewise.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
Thanks, Adrian. As always, pleasure to talk to you.